reading of this week is, are we children of the light? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. It is common for people to perceive themselves according to their present realities. A person in ill health says, I am ill. Few say, I am well. It is my body that is suffering. People in a low income bracket say, I am poor. Only the unusual person will say, though outwardly I live in poverty, inwardly I am wealthy. Thus, when it comes to moral and spiritual development, people commonly identify themselves with their weaknesses and their mistakes. They consider it almost a sign of humility to say, I am a sinner, though in effect, what it means is that they identify themselves with their sinfulness, not with the soul's power to transcend all limitations in God. The great masters, including Jesus Christ, have always emphasized the divine potential of mankind. To encourage us, they address us as children of light, not of darkness. The Bible in the Gospel of St. John, chapter 3, makes the point that our true home is not the mud of this earth, but the light of heaven. No man hath ascended up to heaven, it tells us, but him that came down from heaven. This passage continues. Even so, the Son of Man who is in heaven, emphasizing that Jesus, though he lived on earth, is perceived by the eye of wisdom as conscious, even in human form, of his true reality in heavenly spheres. The way to know God is to live in godly consciousness and not to bewail our own imperfection and our distance from God. Jesus said, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. And the Bhagavad Gita states, seekers of union with God find him dwelling in their own hearts, but those who lacking in wisdom seek him with impure motives cannot perceive him, however much they struggle to do so. If you want to know God, Paramahansa Yogananda said, live in the thought that you have him already. Thus, through holy scriptures, God has spoken to mankind. It's very beautiful what the suggestion Yogananda gives us. The suggestion is, if you want to see God, think of having him already. Think you already have it. When we sing, this is a way that we have to be in the presence of God, and when we are in the presence of God, it's when we are here in the moment, present. There is this version in English that is very beautiful of this song or this chant that says, Mother, when I will awaken, I will see your face, and I will live in your light. When I will awaken, all the hurts and sufferings will leave, and I will understand your joy. When I will Hand by hand, I will hand by hand, I will dance with you. In this song, this chant, there is the sense of trepidant waiting for his arrival, and at the same time, there is a sense of joy of being in his presence. Dancing in Divine Mother's presence, we are already dancing in joy in our heart. What happens then? Why don't we live always in this joy? Because it's not easy to affirm the light when we are surrounded by darkness. When the sun penetrates in the sea, at one point the light is not perceived anymore at a certain deepness. Light is there, but the power of the light is lost. It is so when this light comes into the human consciousness. If the consciousness is dense, light is there, but it's not perceived. It is not manifested. We cannot perceive it. In the deepness of the ocean, there is a medusa, I don't know how it's called. They have long, very long tentacles, see? 2 meters of tentacles. And it's like it is like a flying spaceship, because it's transparent, and it has 8 light points of light. It's very beautiful, and there in this deepness there are these animals that produce light to compensate the fact that there is no light. And as this spaceship of the Medusa, our ego that is darkened by it produces its own light, but has nothing to do with divine light. It is far from that, the beauty of divine light. There is a story that gives us there is the story of a friend of Swami. He was Indian, and this story is in the moment of when there were problems between Pakistan and India, and they were all closed in their house because of the dangers outside. And at some point there was nothing to eat, so he goes out with his car and he takes his rifle in front with him, because it was very dangerous. And at one point he finds himself with a pistol that is pointed against his head, and he looks at him and he recognizes that he is his friend. And because they both had rifles, they did not shoot. And at one point, this guard that had not recognized him, he looks at him well and he says, "Oh, you're my friend. What was I about to do? I was about to kill you." So emotions like fear and anger that are so strong obscure our awareness. We do not perceive light anymore because we are so eager to do something that is so strong and that is terrible, moved by these emotions. When we find ourselves in moments of great darkness, we have to remember that we are sons of the light, that we are that. We are, this light exists, even if it seems impossible, even to mention the joy is impossible, but that joy exists. We need there an heroic act of will and pray. We need to pray. I know I need to resist. Please come to me. There is a phrase of Swami that is beautiful, an affirmation. Lord, I will live with your power because you are the only doer through me. Manifest your perfection through me. While I'm trying in every sense to live in thy light. This prayer is so beautiful. Manifest your perfection through me while I try with all myself to live in thy light. This affirmation prayer, if we do this, we feel the presence of God in our hearts. And joy appears. Yogananda gives us comfort, telling us that the soul is not obscured. That you can obscure it with like a blanket around, but he says that in a soul that is obscured by delusion, even there the light of God is there, that is attempting to be revealed and appreciated by everyone. This is for everyone. This transformation is possible, but it seems just strange. Jesus says, be perfect as God is perfect in the sky. This is a manifestation in saints. And you feel how much distance there is between me and them. But Master helps us to understand that it is possible. For example, the babies of a swan, they are not so beautiful as a swan, as an old swan. They're not so swan. They're not so beautiful. They're even a little bit funny. They're gray, and at one point, after some years, this beautiful neck comes out and all these beautiful feathers, white feathers, this purity and greatness. And you think, how is it possible that this little duckling becomes such a beautiful... It's the same as the, I don't know how you call the little worm that becomes a butterfly, the cocoon that becomes a butterfly. It's the same thing. They bring it to you, and little children play with them. You don't think that it can become a beautiful butterfly, but at some point, it becomes a cocoon. And from there, it seems that nothing is happening, but there's so much happening inside the cocoon. The butterfly is being created. And at one point, when the butterfly opens with her little feet, and comes out, there's this lightness and joy and beauty that you see out in the wind. Flying. If you If you imagine a human and you tell them they are the little worm inside the cocoon, the person with ego will say, oh, so when the little worm is in the cocoon and it's becoming a butterfly, it has like a little mouth, that trunk that absorbs this substance. If he had ego, if you tell him you're going to become a butterfly, he would say, no, I don't want to become a butterfly. I'm here in this beautiful place and you are a son of God. He would say, oh yes, for sure, but I prefer to stay here where I am. Look, you can be an angel. He would say, no, look, I can just stay here. You can live from only with prana. He would say, no, I can stay here and eat my pasta. It's working perfectly. That's exactly what we do. We don't believe so. And the masters come, and there is this phase of transformation where you feel that nothing is happening, but at one point when you say yes to this transformation, God transforms us. Swami would call us all angels. He would say we are just living thoughts of limitation, of egoism. All of this is not part of us. We have to let everything go, offer everything to God. And it's there that we find joy. There is a beautiful whisper of eternity. It says, I am the eternal now, having torn to shreds my enclosing cocoon of ignorance with the sharp knife of free will. Now I am thy soaring butterfly of eternity, flitting freely through immeasurable skies of time. The beauty of my wings I spread out through nature everywhere. To entertain all beings, my wings are sparkled with suns and stardust. May every silken thread that shrouded my past folly be severed forever. See, thy trial now behind me, only adding to my beauty as I wing my way to my own self in thee. Swami writes that when we will realize God, because we are angels, we will applaud with our wings. There's a beautiful story of a couple, of a husband and a wife that went through great darkness, through illness, and then both arrived to go up in the love of God. They had many years of a beautiful relationship, their marriage, and then they find out that he had a cancer, and before 4 years from his death. So he goes into the hospital, and they thought he was. After some time, they say that he is fine, that he is not ill anymore. But he still had much pain, and doctors did not understand what they could do. They would give him medicine, and that was it. So he lived for 3 years in a more or less healthy life. At that point, they come and start to read the autobiography, and he expresses that he wanted to go to the Holy Land, and they were very happy. They came in the pilgrimage with many of the community. We went. I have been there for 4 times. I've had this opportunity, and I know that Jesus touches the heart of everyone. and he transforms everyone. You just feel an immense sense of joy, presence of joy. It's something I perceived in the Lake of Galilee, this light presence of Jesus, like the first disciples that met him and had this joy of being in the presence of God manifested. So for them it was a beautiful trip. And what happened to them, that when it came back after a few months, he started having a lot of pain, could not eat, and they thought he had a cold. Goes into the hospital, and they realized that he had metastasis, and comes out on a wheelchair. So the wife takes care of this husband. At one point, his mother comes, and the wife goes to another village to recharge the batteries and to pray for him and to detach emotionally, to be able to practice. And when she was in the village, she feels in her heart to offer her life to God, and she becomes disciple. And that day she was kneeling in one of the chapels in the village. She was praying. At one point she has this vision of her and her husband that are on this little rowing boat, and the husband was sitting on the prow, and at one point in the water, Master comes to them, stops and stays in silence, and the husband wouldn't walk anymore, stands up, comes out of the boat, and there was this beautiful light in the horizon, and Master and the husband start walking towards the light. And then an incredible blue light, beautiful, beautiful and loving, comes. And this woman that was on the rowing boat asks and says, "Who are you?" And the answer is, "I'm Divine Mother." And she felt that she was surrounded by this love. After this vision, she comes to know that her husband had died, and she understands with gratitude that Yogananda had taken her away from the husband, because the attachment of both of them to each other would have been very hard in this passage. This way, they were both elevated in the light, the sense of being elevated. In the Bhagavad Gita says, "I who dwell in their hearts, pouring out my grace upon them, forever dissolve the darkness born of ignorance and raise them to the shining light of wisdom." Christ consciousness, I dissolve the darkness born of ignorance and raise them to the shining light of wisdom. There is a story of a boy that had this experience of being elevated towards light. This is a friend of Jyotishan Devi. He is an Indian young man, and he's a great devotee of Ananda Mohima. He was very young then when this story happened, and he had diarrhea. He was dying from this with horrible pain, and they did not know what to do, and he was crying. He was young, and he had this incredible pain, and Ananda appeared. She's a great saint, an Indian saint, and she says, "My son, I can't help you if you are so sad. You have to smile to me." And he said, "How can I smile to you, mother?" And she said, "Try." And he was so weak. He had no strength. He did what he could. And then he thinks, "I'm going to massage my body." And he starts touching his body, and the pain goes away. And in very few days, he's completely well, healthy. I think this story is beautiful because I have seen it in my life. When you relate yourself to God, there must be a sense of serenity, because the sense of sadness, you feel that you are a bit far from God, and you think of all the things that you would like to have that you don't have. And the reading was very beautiful. The road to find God is not to lament from our imperfections and from the blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. This purity of calmness and serenity. I know that you exist, you love me, and you will help me. This unconditional faith attracts instantly the presence of God in our hearts. In fact, Swami once was in Hawaii, and he was in his hotel, and at one moment his hip prosthesis moves, and he was distant from the hospital, and with much pain he arrives to the phone to call someone to help him. And after an hour, the ambulance arrived, and when they arrived, the door was closed from the inside, so they had to throw the door down almost, and it was a long time to go to the hospital. And Swami said that in that moment he felt gratitude towards Divine Mother, because that pain, through that pain, he could love Divine Mother. This says everything. This smile that Ananda asked that young boy, that gratitude in your heart. If you feel this sense of joy, sure, you're not smiling as if you were happy, but it is a smile that takes away the pain. Through this process inside, you feel that you are in his presence. Swami writes, "With humility which the true saints have shone, you will see the sun of divine awakening gradually rising in the firmament of your consciousness. Then all shadows of doubt will be erased in your heart.